So now the Toxic Avenger, the remake from this year. Actually, the remake from 2 years ago. This was shot around 2023 or so, and is coming out this year because this is a low-budget remake of an even lower-budget movie from the mid-1980s that inexplicably spawned a large franchise that included the Toxic Crusaders cartoon. There were some video games. There were multiple sequels, a couple in the 80s, another one in the either late 90s, early 2000s, and they've been trying to remake this or make a higher budget version for years, and they finally got this one out. Marquee flagship franchise for Troma Entertainment, and that pretty much kind of says why a review, or at least a review of pretty much anything Troma, but especially a review of a Toxic Avenger movie that is officially endorsed by Troma, even though this is from Cineverse, and director Macon Blair, with their, Lloyd Kaufman is involved and pops up in there, of course, as he always does. He was also in the background of the new Superman, by the way, because that was a James Gunn movie, and James Gunn also comes from the Troma universe, the Troma subculture. Troma movies are sort of their own thing. They're practically their own brand, their own aesthetic. You either like them or you don't. You get into what they're putting down or you don't, and I'm always been very much on board with Troma. But in terms of, people go to Troma movies, whether they're good or bad, basically to go to Troma movies. And a review of this is more a review of whether or not it is authentic to the brand or not, and it is, and that's pretty much all you should need to know. Is the remake of the Toxic Avenger the Toxic Avenger? Yes, it is. This isn't so much a brand reinvention, although it very much is. It's its own thing. It's more suggested by the idea of the Toxic Avenger than it is a true retelling of the original. It's more of a Troma fan film in terms of recreating the aesthetic than it is a fan film of the plot of the original Toxic Avenger, jumping off from the basic idea of a guy falls in toxic waste and turns into a monster superhuman hero, than a direct lift of the plot. The new good guy, played by Peter Dinklage before he becomes the Toxic Avenger, and then voiced by Peter Dinklage and played by stunt performer Luisa Guerrero in a monster suit, doing Peter Dinklage's physical movements and face expressions through a mask that's designed to look like a monster version of Peter Dinklage's face. They both give basically a joint performance that is actually a really excellent performance. The title character in this, whatever else you can say about the movie, is a really excellent new version of Toxie and a great character. You end up really liking this version of Toxie by the end of the movie. What I can say to this is definitely not made for anyone who would not go see a Toxic Avenger movie as a non-fan, but should you end up watching this as someone who otherwise is not familiar with the idea of the Toxic Avenger, I think people will end up enjoying this just for how much fun the concept of the main character as a mutated toxic monster version of Peter Dinklage running around as what is now, instead of a bullied nerd who falls into toxic waste and turns into the Toxic Avenger. Their new concept for this is that he is now Winston Coos, a single stepdad, raising Jacob Tremblay as a bullied theater kid. He's trying to raise this kid. He gets a bad health diagnosis that is probably caused by the pollution to their hometown of sort of Tromaville, also sort of not Tromaville, as another running joke, caused by the health supplement company run by Kevin Bacon, where he works as a janitor. When he discovers the company is refusing to pay health insurance, he opts to commit kind of corporate sabotage, tries to get some money, ends up getting involved in some actual, more substantial corporate sabotage through some plot complications, falls in toxic waste, and mutates into the Toxic Avenger. Goes on a revenge crime-fighting spree that ends up bringing him back into conflict with the original bad guys of pollution, corruption going on in the city. This is all the gag of this is that it's a textbook superhero action plot straight out of any comic book of this type made between like the 60s all the way up through the 90s, 2000s, but with the twist of grotesque toxic waste, body function, gross out blood and guts humor smeared on top of it, and the mix of, is this a parody, or is this just gross out humor, is this satire, or are we just throwing Mad Magazine shit against the wall, or is it a straight up horror movie? Kind of all of the above. Troma has always excelled by, are they kidding, or is there something else there? Genre of humor. And this is very much of that type, with the extra added flair of genuine human sentiment by having actual good actors, all of whom are, by gag, too good to be in this week. Kevin Bacon, Peter Dinklage, Jacob Tremblay. Macon Blair, very good director who's been tied in with Jeremy Saulnier and the Cineverse people. And they all have the whole background of this in terms on the filmmaking side, all come from that very authentic, Midwestern, Southwestern, Southern independent filmmaking vibe that you also used to get from the Coen brothers, from Sam Raimi, from James Gunn, when in between when he was a Troma guy and before he was the Marvel DC guy. People who were from the edge of independent film, very much authentically outside of the Hollywood system, the New York system, where you get a sense of genuine independence, that not just independent filmmaking spirit, but also a real sense of we can't always nail down exactly what the perfect, precise ideology of what this movie, what the people who made it are, in an interesting and exciting, and as opposed to just like some kind of, performative way, where this feels genuinely edgy, provocative, dangerous, in a real punk rock kind of way. Other than obvious stabs, there's a whole fight scene where the Toxic Avenger is slaughtering a bunch of men's rights activist guys who have taken over a fast food restaurant and are going to murder everyone because they've changed their mascot to Miss Meat, where obviously it's the sort of movie where that is the angle, but also the Toxic Avenger is killing a bad guy by literally visually on screen pulling his guts out through his asshole, and it's awesome. This is that kind of level of holy shit, I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing violence on screen. It's the sort of movie where you're not sure what this movie has to say other than fuck power and everyone in charge, and that is a genuine, real puck rock F everyone sentiment in a way that doesn't feel like just empty performance because it's cool right now. It feels genuine and raw and real, and that's cool to see from a real movie that you can see on the big screen for however long they let this stay out in an unrated state, which is just wild. The gore is really good. The effects are good, but also rubbery and gooey and fake in a way they're supposed to be. It feels like they've pulled back in exactly the right places, whether by necessity or by deliberate, to know that this wouldn't be an authentic Toxic Avenger Troma type movie if it was too good, if that makes sense. It's authentically grimy, nasty, trashy movie, but also has real heart where it counts, like the authentic 80s, 90s, made out of spit and heart of gold movies that it's emulating, and it feels really cool. And also, yeah, this main character created by the joint work of two actors working really hard, a not digitally mashed together way, in an old-fashioned two actors agreeing to bring a character to life way through Peter Dinklage and Lisa Guerrero to make this version of Toxie. It is very, very compelling that you would not expect what is essentially a gory, gruesome, nasty, toxic murder puppet to be. I would recommend that people go see this anyway, just because even if you hate it, you're going to hate it in a way that you haven't hated another thing. And if you love it, if you're the kind of person that's going to love this movie, you're not even watching this review. You're already seated to watch it this weekend. I had a blast with this. I'm calling it at least an 8 out of 10. So give this a look. Toxic Avenger, hells to the yeah.